Welcome back to Oh Gross. And part 2.
Welcome back.
Right? In part 2 of our mindfulness discussion. And listen, I know it's not May anymore, but you know what? Our mental health and mindfulness is not a conversation that only happens in May.
Yes.
It is not. It is June, but we need to still be practicing things that can help us, right? Live a more balanced life. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yes.
So we're going to dive into part 2. But before we do, Jenny was telling me that she was like having some feelings about mindfulness, right? Just a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it can be overwhelming and scary.
Right.
I feel like I really need this episode because I am all the time just so bent up and busy and I have no time. So I think it's something that is really important. And I know from myself, I need guidance and I need clarification on it. So I think this is very helpful.
So you're excited to actually try the meditation with Cassie?
I'm excited to try it. Yes. Yes.
I'm excited about this.
I am too. And I think, listen, at the end of the day, we have to remember, we've been like shown all these images of what mindfulness and what it is, like meditation, right? Even when we were kids, I mean, Brian was saying before he hopped on, this is going to totally date him, but he like brought up like an episode of Different Strokes.
I love that show.
He was like, well, remember like in Different Strokes when they had like the opening scene where they're all like, Om.
Uh-huh.
And as a kid, like that's what to him symbolized, meditation or mindfulness is that you have to sit for, hours cross-legged and which it can be.
Right.
Meditation, it comes in all different shapes and forms, but I guarantee you will no longer be afraid of it.
Okay.
And you will no longer, most importantly, be judging yourself. So with that, let's jump in to this episode. What do you think, girls?
I'm excited.
Yay!
The drama's about to end, 'cause gross. Stop asking for a friend, taboos. Ick is what we do, just science. Yeah, it's not so weird. Your gross out journey starts right here on Oh Gross.
I think what today is about is how anyone can find a practice of mindfulness. So with that said, I'm excited to jump back into our conversation with Cassie. And just to remind our listeners, Cassie is a MBSR educator, which means that she is an educator in mindful-based stress reduction. She taught my very first training I ever took in MBSR. It was an 8-week program.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had the pleasure of taking her workshop, and we are excited to jump in again with her today.
Yes.
Yes.
In part 2 of our mindfulness discussion.
So I'm going to say that I love mindfulness-based stress reduction created by John Kabat-Zinn in the late 70s. It is the course that millions of people have gone through, but it's not for everybody. To begin the process, it is simpler than that. It is as simple as being able to pay attention to your breath or the fact that you are breathing right now. And it's to be able to pull yourself into a moment, even if it only lasts a moment, and know that you have. And then instead of saying, oh, I could only do it for a minute, you say, I did that for a minute. You know what I mean? It's just, it's about reframing. And I'm a big lover of love. I love love as it extends to others and as it extends to ourselves. And the course actually starts off by teaching us some ways that we can be kinder, more compassionate, more forgiving of ourselves. That goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that the feeling of frustration or annoyance, even in the process of like when I took the 8-week course or just in life, recognizing that and knowing that you can move through it is such a great feeling. So no, maybe you won't always like drop and do a 50-minute, 45-minute body scan or 20, depending on what your side, right? But you do find that every day we have these moments where something just, your stomach starts to hurt, you feel annoyed, you feel frustrated, you feel like you can't move past that moment. And when you realize we can move past moments, moment by moment, because then it's going to be different on the other end, is such a gift in general that we don't really talk about enough in society, in schools, and everywhere, is that, hey, how do I survive a moment in the moment?
I love that you say moment too, because it makes it like it's less pressure, or it doesn't feel so big that you can start with something smaller and build up. Because I always thought of it like, you had to sit for 15 to 30 minutes and meditate. And I think that, just breaking it down into little moments or a breath makes it feel like it's attainable for someone like me to do, because I feel like I've been abusing my nervous system.
We all
Well,
have.
no, you just
We
feel
all have.
overloaded.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm overloaded. I kind of look at some other countries where, they take a siesta every day, and you can tell that they really enjoy their lives, and they're also giving themselves a break, and they're allowing that to happen. And I think so many times in our society, it's, well, you can't do that. Nope, you can't do that. And then you're made to feel guilty if you do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, even the episode we talked about money, and our expert was talking about how her father, when she was driving with him, looked at people at the gym. And they're like, why aren't they at work? Because it was 1 p.m. And she had explained to him that times have changed. Just that idea of, if I'm doing something else, I must not be working harder. I must not be doing things that are going to lead me to whatever success is for me. And it's all this pressure when taking care of yourself is the best way to be successful.
Yes.
I have a feeling that we're beginning as a culture to come around to this, because we can't really go any faster. We can't put any more in to the 24 hours that are given to us each day. And I keep thinking there's this tipping point that we finally retreat, literally and figuratively, retreat into what has been, like you said, Molly, different cultures are still practicing it. And of course, some of the most ancient practices that come from India and other places in the East, this has been the norm forever, is to be able to be active and then rest, active and then rest. And this prescribed amount of time for meditation is something that I actually used to believe in. But I now know that every little small amount of time that you just aim in that direction of being mindful. I mean, when I say mindful, it's sometimes confusing to people. It's just being present right here, right now. And most of the time, as I said, we can be in a moment and have it be pure unless we're bringing in and dragging in things like, if we're even thinking about something about the future, but then they're like, oh no, that won't happen because this, and this, we're bringing in these negative stories that probably will not actually play out.
Yep.
Yes.
I wanted to come back to the definition of mindfulness as John Kabat-Zinn created for this program in the very beginning. It's a heavy one, but it's concise. Mindfulness is the awareness that arises from paying attention on purpose in a particular way in the present moment, suspending judgment. Whoa, that's a tall order.
Yes.
But to put that all into one space, and the biggest, most important part, I've had the pleasure of being in John's company and few classes, is the judgment part. We're always judging ourselves on our performance as, moms, humans, our successes, whatever it is that we're trying to do. And we have this expectation and we're judging it. And when we judge and when we are harsh with ourselves, obviously, this is the opposite of self-love.
Right.
This is stress producing. So much of the stress we feel is actually created from inside and not necessarily from outside. So we have to learn how to keep a foot in both of those worlds and observe it when it's happening, feel it in the body, Kara, thus the practice of the body scan, so we can get used to feeling, oh, something's welling up. Oh my gosh, I'm upset. And we have to be able to, in the moment, in that very, very critical time, insert something that helps us get through that moment. And it's not that we're trying to push it aside, but we're trying to insert any number of ways that we can, like mindfully taking a breath, taking a pause. Molly, I think you said break. And when I hear break, it's BRAKE. Slow down. Just pause.
Stop.
Give yourself permission, even though stopping is totally counterproductive. We're never supposed to stop, right?
Yeah.
Mindfulness, living mindfully, teaches us to do that. And meditation is one of the vehicles that helps us get there.
Yeah.
So I don't know when it's the right time to do a little practice of what I call formal meditation, but there's nothing formal about it, except that it is done very consciously, would now be okay?
Yes.
Let's try.
Yes,
We're
please.
all about it. Yay.
Now, like the present moment.
The present time. Let's jump in.
Yes, ready.
And notice I have my Enjoy the Now sweatshirt on today.
I love
I
that.
love that.
So let's enjoy a little bit of now.
To all of our listeners, do not do the meditation while driving. We know you listen to our podcast while driving. We love it. But get home and then just play this episode again, and you can do the meditation with your
Yes.
eyes closed
Be
with
safe.
Cassie. Be safe. Don't do it while driving.
Here's what I'm going to invite you to do, and I already did it myself, is I'm closing my eyes. And sometimes for people, that is a difficult thing to do based on amount of caffeine in the system or any other number of reasons. So never force your eyes to close. But in this moment, right here, feel your eyes, feel around the eyes, and allow the eyelids, if they're so willing, to just meet one another and give that visual mechanism a little break just for a moment. And as you settle in, and when I say that, I suggest just letting the weight of your body that you can feel right now just melt into or onto the surface that's currently supporting you. And now I want you to invite yourself, if it's comfortable for you, to come to the breath and have that as an anchor. And if the breath for any reason for you isn't a comfortable place, you can just come to a place on the body and even the soles of the feet where you can kind of feel grounded. If the breath is available to you and safe, it's a practice that you can always come to just come to this breath. And when I say that, I mean bring awareness and attention to it wherever you can pick up on it. Is it around the nose, the nostrils? Maybe you can feel the air rolling in and out of the nostrils. Maybe you can feel the air that's coming in and out of the mouth, if in fact you're breathing through the mouth. Wherever you can pick up on the breath, just the natural wave of breath right now. Just observe it. Imagine you're sitting back just observing this thing that's happening all the time. And the wave is rolling in and it's reaching down into the chest and it's filling the lungs. And then the body knows exactly when to let go. And that breath makes its way right back out of the body. And the cycle goes on and on, breathing in new and letting go of what is old and stale. Awareness of the breath that's here right now. And now checking in, a mindful check-in with the eyes still closed or lowered, with what's happening upstairs in the mental compartment. Just notice right now, without pushing away or judging, if you can do this, just notice the kinds of thoughts that are here right now, present. Thoughts about the past, thoughts about the future, thoughts about right now, why am I doing this? And now take this observation, this awareness, and let it just take a little ride from the top of the head. Let's just be aware as we travel down and feel into the body, from the top of the head, over the forehead, down the sides of the head and the back of the head, the facial structure. Not trying to do anything as we go, but maybe notice sensations as they come and go. Down the structure of the neck and the tops of the shoulders, down both arms, all the way to the palms of the hands. All bodies are different, so take this guidance according to your body. Down the front and the sides and the back of the torso. Travel down around the hips, all the way down to the soles of the feet. And then come back up with this awareness. Come back to the breath, however it is right now. And then when you're ready, just open your eyes. I would say welcome back, but you didn't go anywhere. And you don't have to go somewhere else during meditation. What you were doing was observing what was happening in this present moment. You were breathing, you were feeling, and you were thinking. And it's okay. It doesn't even matter. Your mind wasn't an empty slate. That's impossible, by the way. You were just noticing. That was a few extra minutes, I have to admit, but I hope it wasn't too much for anyone that's listening. But you took deliberately time to bring awareness to your breath and check into your mind and body. How was that?
I loved it.
It was fabulous.
Mhm.
I wish I were laying down to do that. But I'm grateful that we had a few moments to do that.
Yeah.
I also think it's fascinating that every time you do this for a couple minutes, whatever it might be, you feel something different. Like today, I felt like energy between my two hands, like very strongly, you know? And other times I'll feel like a weight's been lifted. Just being present with our bodies and just sitting, even as thoughts come in and out, it's interesting what our body is kind of giving off or needing to get rid of or wants us to embrace. Like sometimes it's energy it wants us to embrace. Other times it's like getting rid of something.
Yeah. Or it wants us to notice something.
Yes. Or notice
Sometimes
something.
we just push through. Let's just say this podcast is called Oh Gross. So let's just say that you have to pee. You're working on something and you're putting it off and you're putting it off and the body keeps sending this signal. I mean, it's so strong and you're like, yeah, but let me just, finish this up. So in the meantime, what you have not done is listen to a very natural sensation that comes from the body that's telling you or suggesting to you to do something.
Yeah.
Right.
Even after the meditation we just did, I feel so much lighter. And my neck doesn't hurt as much and my shoulders don't hurt as much. So I think from the health perspective, you hear everyone talking about, oh, you have such high cortisol. And I think that even just doing 2 to 4 or 5 minutes, like you just took us through, for me personally, would be so helpful for my health and my brain health.
We know how powerful the brain is, right? I mean, I experienced it with Brian when he was determined during cancer to change that pathway. And but we forget that the brain is so powerful and we have so much control over our nervous system and our body that it can make us sick or it can make us well.
Right.
Like it's meant to regulate it. It's meant to do what it's supposed to do. And I find that even being present now for 2 minutes is a reminder that I have more control than I think. There are some things we don't have control over, right? But we do have control of how we absorb information or how we react to situations or how we are treating our nervous system. And when you were saying that, Cassie, I was just thinking in my head, I know all these things. Oh my gosh, I've been ignoring so many signs lately. I really have. I haven't been sleeping well. My mom sent me magnesium spray. She was like, you need to sleep better. All these things that I know. But the truth is, even if you're someone who has taken the classes or, done certain training or wherever you're at, we are human. And we have to remind ourselves, and we all need that moment of like, wait a minute, I'm getting the signs again, right? I have to check in. It's easy to do it when you're thrown into a health journey and you're like, it's this or that, right?
Right.
But to avoid getting to that point, we have to keep checking in and saying, what are the signs? What is my body telling me? And thank you so much for saying that, Cassie, because I think it's so important.
Oh, yeah, you're so welcome. All of us recognize this, and our tendency is to kind of judge ourselves harshly about it. Whereas this entire process is about, I know I use this love a lot, but I can't help it. It's to love ourselves back into the place that we know naturally. We really do. It's our natural state to have enough rest to supply the system with what it needs. And it is our distraction and our lives that pull us away. There's a reason that I named my company The Alternate Path, because there's a path that we all go down in life. And if indeed we want to really take care of ourselves, we're the only ones that can actually do that, by the way. We can only make that choice. We have to avoid the many exits along that path that don't support our good health. And we can choose in every moment. I mean, it all starts off with the littlest practice of beginning to bring your attention back.
Yeah.
I do this thing a lot, and people say, that's your favorite little hand thing on this distraction. And it isn't that you came over here and you should be upset about that. It's that you're going to loop back. It's going to loop back. It's like going to the gym. It's a very little exercised thing, this attention of ours. And so if we train it, and it is about training, but not training it, harshly, training it lovingly. Come on back, come on back. And it's over and over and over throughout the day. The moment that you realize that you're distracted and perhaps not being mindful, you're already back because you just realized.
Okay.
I mean, it isn't even about don't stick over there for too long with the why don't I do that more often or what happened. Just come back over and over and over again. Guess what then happens? It just begins to be a pattern.
It's habit. It becomes habit.
Right.
It's a habit. And more, my site is called Mind Your Moments. It is about minding more and more of your present moments.
Yes.
To the point that you're in the present moment most of the time. Now, I mean, that might be pushing a little bit too much, but not right away. It is a process of just reminding yourself over and over again and placing priorities on where your attention should be. Jenny, I know you were mentioning about the kids, and you can be present with them. And sadly, sometimes we're with our kids, and in my case, grandkids, and you realize, I'm not even here right now. Wait a minute.
Right?
I'm going to come back. Because you do want to savor all that.
Yeah.
You don't want to end up down the road saying, where did the time go?
Right.
Because so many of those moments were not minded by you. Minded? Is that a word? But anyway, you weren't present.
And also communicating that. I mean, I've been trying to be mindful of is talking to my kids about where I'm at in the moment so they know that I want to be more present. Hey, I got to finish this call. I'm super excited. I want to be 100% here to hear what you're saying and to partake in what you're doing so they can start to learn about what it is to really put the pencils down and not constantly multitask. Because I notice with my kids, like they think that they're turning into little me's where it's like, I can do 5 things at once, right? No, right? I'm going to say it, guys. Everyone, Brian, you're listening. I know. No, I cannot do 5 things at once well and be present at 5 different things at once. That is not the way.
Same.
And I'm admitting it. You know what I mean? That is my biggest fault. But I'm trying to teach them, like, wait, no, when you come back, we're just going to talk about the story you wrote. I want to hear your song you're going to sing. But if you're asking me to pay attention when I'm doing something else, I'm not really truly present, which has been a hard thing.
But I think also you can't feel guilty for that.
Yes.
You have to be able to take care of yourself before you can take care of other things.
Yep.
I think as women, we place a lot of guilt on ourselves for that, for not being able to multitask and do 50 things at once. But we should not feel guilty, and we should not make other people feel guilty as well, if that's what they need.
Yeah, 100%.
I totally agree with that, Molly. And Kara, I love that suggestion. If you explain to your kids what you're doing, you are modeling something beautiful. You're starting with the mindfulness training really early when you say, I want to just be I want to pay attention to exactly what you're doing right now. And right now I have this. If this is work, then that has to have its place too. But they're seeing that you're making a choice. And now here's mom. Mom's here. She's focused. And I get her attention. Now, that's a gift. That's a beautiful gift.
And then you can actually shut your phone off or put your phone, show them. That's what I'm trying to do too. See, look at my phone is going here, I love that, especially women now, a lot of us are working from home 50% of the time, but we then now have forgotten all the boundaries. So our kids don't know when we're working.
Right.
Right. So we're on our phones doing things and then they come in and they're like, but you're here. Right. So I'm also trying to work on that. So I'm like, look now I can put my phone here. And it's time for us to do this because this is still the work frame. And it helps me too because also, Jenny, I know you're like this too. I want to answer everything and not have any space between it. And that isn't good. I mean, that goes back to that all or nothing mentality, which doesn't work for anyone. It's like when you go on the cleanse. I know I always say this, but you go on the cleanse for 30 days and eat the cheese fries before and after. I've said it 100 times, but it's true, right? It's that all or nothing. I'm going to meditate for 30 days for an hour a day instead of I'm just going to put my phone down for the 5 minutes I'm talking to my kid and literally be present, but let them know when that time can be.
It's okay to have boundaries for ourselves. Like Cassie, we were talking about how, I think it was the episode with Shauna about how sometimes when we're even on the toilet,
Yes.
we don't give ourselves a boundary to, have privacy and just be alone. And, or our kids are interrupting. And I mean, it's so important to try to have those boundaries. And Kara, I know you're the same as me. We both need to be present and enforce those boundaries a little better.
I will say I am no longer allowing anyone talking to me, or I'm not answering emails in the toilet anymore. I have put that boundary down. It's a big
Yeah,
step.
what a big step. No, seriously, it is. It is.
If my husband gets 20, I deserve the 4.5 minutes.
Is Brian listening? You're in trouble.
Yes.
This all or nothing thing, that's what gets us into so much trouble. I do not believe in New Year's resolutions and things. I believe in intentions, and intentions should be soft and doable and small, because once you have that feeling of, I don't even want to use the word accomplished, but having done this, then it's like a stepping stone to the next and the next.
It stacks up. It starts to crowd out the bad things and stack up slowly the good things. And while you're saying this, Cassie, it brings me back to like when we ate the grape. So just taking mindful eating, the idea of that, like at first when I would hear that, and I'm a health coach, right? So I've had all the training, and there's a lot of talk around mindful eating, but what really kind of like snapped in my brain, I don't know why, I think even the second workshop I did with you about love, was that there's these moments, even when you have a glass of wine, okay? If you're the kind of person that consumes alcohol or whatever it is in your life, taking that and savoring it, which we were talking about, and really being present of the way it smells, the way it tastes, changes all these behaviors we have where it's all or nothing. It really, really does. It just slows us down to enjoy all these lovely things. I have a beautiful dinner in front of me. I have this wonderful thing I've been looking forward to. I'm watching this movie that I'm so excited about. I'm hearing my favorite song, and I'm really hearing it, and I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do next. It changes everything, because those are all little tiny gifts in our life that we forget are around us all the time. Even the darkest of days, we have these tiny little gifts all around us that we miss because of it.
I know this darn negativity bias that we have because we had to, our ancestors had to, in order to survive. They had to scan the horizon for all kinds of threats. We don't have that so much anymore. And now the threats are not like animals, chasing us down. The threats are deadlines and traffic and all the other things that knock us off our rockers every day.
Social media scrolling.
Yeah. so much of that. It has that same effect on our nervous systems. But when we I'm trying to break the habit of saying but. You may have noticed I'm inserting and.
Oh, I love that.
I know.
Here's a little thing I'm doing to be more inclusive. When you walk from walk from your car to your home and you pass anything outside that's growing, our tendency is not to notice the beautiful thing. It's to notice maybe the weeds that are around it.
Yeah.
Or just not even notice that at all as you're thinking about something else and arriving to your home completely distracted. To your point, Kara, our lives are so full of things that in each moment we could appreciate if we weren't so busy thinking about what we don't have or what we want or what we didn't do or what we're sorry we did do. All of that consumption of the present moment is what we're trying to train our brains to come back to a more natural state because of. And so when you were aware of your breath earlier, consider that home base. Consider yourself in a conversation with someone and you can tell that it's escalating and it's not going in a direction that's pleasant for either party. You can bring yourself back to your breath. Nowadays, you can even do this right in front of somebody. They'll think you're weird probably, but so many people are trying to be mindful that you could just go and not have it be this sign of I'm disgusted with you, but rather I am taking a deep breath. I am taking a little break. There are such simple ways to do this. And I say that in our current culture, politically speaking, there's so much going on for everyone, no matter where you are on the spectrum. There's so much going on that you can consider that to be the overload if just all on its own. Then you still have your personal life and you have your professional life. And when you put all that together, there's a lot of opportunity for us to practice mindfulness.
Yeah.
And how far down the rabbit hole are you going to allow yourself to go with what ifs or, why did I, or any of that kind of thing. But just bring yourself back to a self-forgiving place every moment. It doesn't matter it does matter, don't get me wrong, but what happened when you were, young, or what happened in your earlier stages of life, or in your 20s and 30s, and I'm losing half of your audience now as I go forward.
Listen, I'm in my 40s, going on the other way.
Same.
It matters because it happened in your life, but what really matters is who you are right now.
Yes.
And what is happening right now in this moment. Now's the place to be.
And Cassie, when you were saying this, I was just thinking about my son who's 6, and he plays like his whole heart is in it when he's building something, right? When he feels something, his whole heart is in it. And we forget, and not to I know some people are like, inner child, that whole concept, that word seems like this woo-woo thing, but it's not. It's going back to when you were a child, no matter what was going on around you, right? You found those moments of make-believe or whatever you needed to escape, or the joy of 10 blocks being in front of you, and it could turn into this whole other world because the possibilities were endless, right? And sometimes we just have to look at kids and realize when we say they're so resilient, it's because they live moment to moment, no matter what they're doing. And we forget that we were all kids. And guess what? We all did this once.
Yes. It's like their default is bliss.
Yes.
It really is. Unless they're hungry or there's a real reason. Otherwise, they just live in this state where, their joy is kind of unimpeded while they're immersed in something. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
It really is. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I might suggest that perhaps I'm going to have to, spill the beans about the left brain, right brain thing, because I have a feeling that they live more in that more spacious place of presence that is available in the right brain. I want to point to a really fascinating book, if I can, for you and your readers. And it is called Whole Brain Living. And it's written by Jill Bolte Taylor. And when she was 39, I think she's 65 now. When she was 37, she's a neuroanatomist, and she experienced and witnessed herself having a stroke, which left her left brain offline. It took about 8 months. Her left analytical thinking, linear judging brain, which, by the way, I don't want to diss the left brain too much. It's really valuable in this life to have, but it was offline. And that's who really she was as a scientist, right, Jenny? You probably can relate to this, more like facts and linear.
Yes.
Yeah. And she explains, not only in her first book called My Stroke of Insight, beautiful name, to this Whole Brain Living, she explains what that is like to live with just the right brain online. And instead of being past and future and comparing and judging over here on the right, he felt bliss and inclusion, no separation between her and her environment and the people in it, just this joy and bliss. You reminded me of it, Kara, when you're talking about your son. It's this place to live from where she said, thank God I got all my faculties back because I'd never get anything done. But, but it's a beautiful place to be. And I guess what turned me on about this whole thing is that to learn how to recognize when we're really operating on the left side or the right side is super important. So to bring mindfulness to, Cassie, you just washed that counter off 10 minutes ago. Why do you need it to do it again right now? That's just one little example in my life where everything has to be just this. So, and instead just backing up and seeing a whole picture. And just really quickly, it was kind of gross when I saw Jill's, and I highly recommended watching her TED Talk from that many years ago. It's still available on YouTube. An assistant came out during the TED Talk and handed her a brain, real tissue brain with the spinal material, whatever you call that. See, I'm not a scientist. Hanging down. And she's talking about these two mirror hemispheres of the brain. You know how they used to say the left brain was thinking and the right brain was emotion? Not true. They both have amygdalae. They both have hippocampi. And that means that there's two different centers for thinking and there's two different centers for emoting. And one of those sides, left, does it in a particular way that is very controlled and very assuming. And the right side does it in a more spacious and open and loving way. So when I take her training beginning July 9th,
ooh, fun.
I know, right after my hip replacement surgery, I won't have anything else to do. I will understand how to create the 4 characters, which is what she teaches. She has named the 4 characters of her brain, the left side thinking and emoting, the right side thinking and emoting. And she now knows when Helen, who is hell on wheels, is in charge as opposed to the other side of the brain. And
this sounds like a Black Mirror episode. It's so funny. I just watched Black Mirror and they had this whole episode about like the euphoria of the brain and what they could control it if you could do it on an app. But it's true. We have that control. It's so cool.
Yeah. It's amazing how you said whole brain too, because there's so much about brain plasticity and how both sides of the brain should work together. And I love that because it's so true that if we're going to have a healthy brain and you know, de-stress and everything we've been talking about and be mindful, it's going to make our brain work better together and be whole. And I think that that's so great. I love whole brain living. I absolutely love that.
Brian and I over the last few years have been doing a documentary on the brain for many years now. It started out as like, how is Twitter, now no longer Twitter X, all these things affecting the brain. And we were working with some scientists out of Canada who were doing these great studies on the hippocampus. And it started out as a dementia study and then realizing that, wait a minute, with video gaming and all these things, there's all these effects in the brain. And they talk a lot about whole brain living too, because we are taught to exercise our heart. We are taught to exercise our arms, especially when you get older, like weights are great, you know, all these things, but we are not told how to exercise our brain. So the whole brain is being exercised. And then when you do that, everything becomes more vibrant, right? When when both sides of the brain are working and you understand spatially where you're at, you understand where your emotions are at, you understand who is surrounding you, all of a sudden the grass literally looks greener. Everything is clearer. I mean, I personally went through the study with them where they grew my brain. That's part of our documentary, was just seeing my brain grow. But I will tell you, when I got out of it, everything sounded different. Everything looked different. I have been terrible with directions my whole life. You know this, girls. I used to hate it when we used to have the Thomas Guide in California and it wasn't a GPS. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to use this book to go anywhere? And I knew where to go. Brian was like, she knows directions. What has happened? I was like, you need to turn left at this house and right by the red mailbox. But it literally is working your whole brain and exercising it. And we aren't taught that. You know, we're not taught like, hey, you got to work your brain out. Otherwise, it's going to get atrophied literally in different parts of your brain, because we are living in a society, we are constantly bombarding certain points of our brain and not working the others and not holistically taking care and supporting the other parts of our brain. And it really does affect how we interact with other people, how we see the world, and how we are able to handle our nervous system.
Exactly. Or nurture it, right?
Or nurture it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about the nervous system, and it's all about just taking those little steps that need to be taken. I mean, you know they need to, because if they didn't, you would be living in that right brain sort of a life already. And I remember, Kara, did you do the MBSR course in 2020?
Yeah, it was either the end of 2020 or the top of 2021. I can't remember if it was January.
It was 2020 because it was 2021 in the beginning.
I think it was January 2021. I just know, yeah.
Yeah, it was really interesting because normally leading up to that point, the people that would register for MBSR were, a variety of different people that were coming for a particular reason, because something was wrong, something physically was wrong. They were sick, they had some accident or something like that. People came for that reason. In 2020, when everything went Zoom, then people were coming not just for that reason. They weren't coming because something had happened to them already besides COVID. They were coming to be preemptive. They were coming to take care of this nervous system, or proactive, I should say. They were coming because they knew that their nervous systems were taxed, but they didn't have some life-threatening thing that had happened yet. I mean, the classes were packed. There were 30-some people in every class, and it was pretty amazing. So I like to say to people, don't wait until something is broken,
Right.
To fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you come to look at yourself and observe yourself and begin these practices, see if you can be curious and be willing to allow that opening up, and maybe even have to view some things that maybe you've very, very skillfully pushed down for lots and lots of years. And I say that not callously, because there are traumas and things that people experience that I know, when those things begin to surface, are very tender and difficult to handle. And so I don't mean in any way to make light of any of that. If we want to recognize what's happening in our operating system day to day, we need to invite ourselves to understand how we got here.
Yeah.
What belief systems we're holding that might not even be ours, and what patterns we're repeating that we don't even know we're repeating. Do we get to say bullshit on this?
Oh, yes.
And what bullshit we're buying from our society that tells us
Messaging. Yeah.
who we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to look like, what car we're supposed to drive. All of this is just that pressure that comes back and just strangles us,
You're never going to be able to erase some things that are going to happen in life. Fear is real. I mean, we experienced it with the fires this year in California and in Los Angeles. I just know from taking the course how it took me a couple of days, and I'm sharing this story so people realize that, like, sometimes when you're in crisis, you don't all of a sudden go, I'm going to stop and meditate right now. Right? My kids are screaming. There's alarms going off. Our phones are beeping. There's all these things happening. Is the fire here? Is it not here? Is it on the street? It's not. So after we evacuated, even that first few days of evacuation, we were with lots of people in chaos. And finally, by happenstance of being present and talking to someone, they told us that there was this location that was allowing a discount for anyone that had been evacuated. And it's this beautiful, like, farm ranch place, because there was no room at the end where we were staying anymore. We moved to this other location. When we got there, there's no internet except for in your room if you have a hotspot, like anywhere in this thing. So at first, my kids, who their only relief has been watching cartoons or something, right? And all the stress, making sure the news is not on. We're like, what do you mean we can't do it? We're like, no, there's no TV, there's nothing, no dinner, there's no tabs. You have to be present. Within 8 hours of my children being there, they turned to us and said, please, 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 can we not leave? Please, please. We were seeing chickens and walking around, and all of a sudden, even though the world was still going on, we weren't pretending like nothing is happening, even though the fear was still there. It was like, wait a minute, this is everything that I learned with MBSR. This is being mindful in a moment. And wow, look at my kids. They've gone from having panic attacks and being worried about what does this mean with the smoke and the fires, to just really being present. And there's a chicken. I just saw a chicken and I'm going to go talk to the chicken. So my point of the story is that we can't ever stop these big moments of trauma that might happen or crisis, but we can learn when we're ready, because there's a time and place for true fear. When we get past that, to say, how can I be present? How can I find some beauty in this? How can I treat myself well? How can I take care of me and everyone else around me by just stopping and seeing what's around us for a second? And that was a big lesson for me. And not looking at the news and not bombarding ourselves with the imagery and not focusing on all the alerts for us, and that happens in life, whether you're going through a health crisis or a family trauma or someone is sick in your family, whatever it might be, we're going to always have these moments, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but it can help us get out the other end.
Well, Carrie, you went from gross chaos to gross mindfulness.
Yes, I did.
Within a matter of 8 hours,
It was total chaos. It was.
Right.
And we even had to record the episode, remember, with my kids' headsets on.
Yes.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful story. And I love that the kids, you caught on that quickly. I think they'd rather have really that live interaction anyway. but it's just an easier choice so much of the time in day-to-day, today life.
Right.
And I just wish for all of you and all of your listeners more and more mindful moments, and that you can increase the amounts of bliss and joy and wellness in your lives.
Thank you so much, Cassie.
Yes,
This has been
thank you.
amazing.
Thank you, Cassie.
We
That was
could
a
go on for
perfect
hours.
way
We'll
to
have to
close
do
it.
it again.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for being you and for all the dedication you've put into being an amazing educator and, just like I said, human being.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
And can we see you again, please?
Yes. Jenny, how are you feeling now? I mean, now that we've gone through this whole thing and you've actually done a short practice with Cassie, how are you feeling now?
I feel less overwhelmed for sure about the whole topic and the whole idea. But after actually doing this and going through it, I feel lighter. That's the only way I know how to verbalize it, is I feel lighter and less stressed out. And I can see why, for my health personally, that it could be so important for me to almost detox my brain.
Right.
Yeah. And I think, you don't even have to think of it as detoxing. It's literally just resetting ourselves and taking the time to just have a little reset and be present so that we can live each moment. And I think all these episodes we have done, whether we're talking about money, or we're talking about our health, or we're talking about getting your colonoscopy, take the time to make your appointment for your colonoscopy. It's the same idea, taking the time to really be present and just take a moment and say, I deserve this moment. And I'm going to not only enjoy life better, but I'm giving myself, even if it's 60 seconds to heal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. To heal so that both sides of my brain are working more harmoniously. And you're right, absolutely, about resetting the brain, because we're so overwhelmed and we're so consumed all the time. And I know I've never taken the time to do this, as I'm sure a lot of listeners feel that they didn't have time,
Right.
or they don't know how. So it's not scary, and it really does help. And I love that, resetting the brain.
I'm definitely triggered by the word detox, as you know, because I always joke about the cleanses and whatever. And that's why I'm not judging that you use the word detox. I personally have this judgment, I think, around the word detox, because to me, it represents in my own life all the times I've been like, I'm going to do a cleanse for 30 days, or I'm going to get rid of all the things in my closet because I've now become the least cluttered person overnight. That's me throwing it in. But you are right. If, whatever it is to you, whether it's detoxing or resetting, it's just taking time to do it.
Yes.
And I want to reiterate again to all of our listeners, do not do the meditation while driving. But just a second, warning there, get home and then just play this episode again, and you can do the meditation with your eyes closed.
Be
with
safe.
Cassie. Be safe. Don't do it while driving.
It's worth it to take the time, because her voice is so soothing also. And
Yep.
the effect that it had, and the relaxation and the resetting effect was wonderful. So I could listen to her every day. I absolutely love it.
You can. We're going to put links up on our website at ogross.com. Don't forget, we're going to have links to her meditations. She's got a whole library of them, and you can listen to Cassie. And then we'll also put up resources if anybody else is interested in learning more about MBSR or more about mindfulness in general. We will have that up on the website. Remember, mindfulness isn't about clearing all the thoughts out of our brain so we have a blank slate. It's about being aware of thoughts as they arise and not having judgment around them. So if you want to learn more about how you can be mindful in your everyday life and just be more present, go check out our website at ogross.com.
And make sure that you are being mindful and following us wherever you get your podcasts.
And while you're mindfully scrolling, hit us up on socials at It's Oh Gross.
Oh, gross. That drama's about to end, 'cause gross. Stop asking for a friend, taboos. Icky's what we do. Psoriasis, podiatrist, and pinworms too. It's so gross. No need for strife, because gross. Life is part of life, it's just science. Yeah, it's not so weird. We got the facts, nothing to fear. Oh, gross. It's just science, no, it's not weird. It's just science, nothing to fear. It's just science, so wipe those tears. It's boogers and rush, and that sticky scratch.